So I was walking by a TV at work the other day and I saw in big letters across the screen like major Supreme Court decision on the Second Amendment. And it was funny, the TV wasn't working very well. I couldn't find the volume button, so I had to stand real close to it. It was on CNN, and I was listening to these morons on CNN. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I was listening to the reporters on CNN face talking into the camera, and I was trying to figure out what the Supreme Court had ruled on, because apparently, if you listen to what was going on in the media, the Supreme Court basically handed guns out to felons in the state of New York, and everyone's gonna die. That was the gist of what I got from watching CNN. So the Supreme Court made a ruling. They struck down a New York law regarding concealed handgun permits. And I don't know, before we get too far into kind of my opinion on it and my explanation of what's going on, let's listen to the mayor of New York. Let's let him, Eric Adams is his name. Let's let him say his piece, and then I'll pick up afterwards.
This decision has made every single one of us less safe from gun violence. The decision ignores the shocking crisis of gun violence every day, engulfing not only New York, but engulfing our entire country. The opinion claims to be based on nation's historical past, but does not account for the reality of today. It ignores the present, and it endangers our future. We will collaborate with other mayors, municipality leaders, and governors, and will leave no unturned stone as we seek to undo and mitigate the damage that we are witnessing today.
Alrighty, now that the mayor has had a chance to open his suck hole, no, what he's saying is not accurate. It's not true. The guy's a moron. He's a liar. This is hilarious. So the case that went before the Supreme Court was challenging a New York law regarding concealed carry permits. There's a variety of different ways that you can carry a weapon legally in the United States, and it varies from state to state. But there's three major ways. The first one is the most liberal. And when I say liberal, I'm not talking about left-wing politics. I'm talking about the most free, the least amount of control, the most liberal law. That's how we define liberal in the real world. That would be the constitutional carry. Constitutional carry means if you're not a felon or something like that, there's a lot of different rules to it. I'm not going to get into them all. It's not as easy as you might think. But basically, if you're a regular, upstanding, good, law-abiding citizen in one of those states, you can carry a handgun concealed on your person in most public places without interruption. Ohio is one of those states. Ohio recently became a constitutional carry state. The next kind of state is a state that allows you to conceal a handgun, but you have to have a concealed carry permit. Now, the Supreme Court, and in this ruling, they went ahead and said, yes, there's nothing wrong with states requiring someone to get a concealed carry permit. So there's still a good number of states, I don't know how many, like 20 states, that require you to get a permit in order to carry a handgun. And these laws vary from state to state, but the basics of it is that in order to get a concealed carry permit in these states, you go to your local sheriff's department or whatever, you submit to a background check, they run your background, they get fingerprints from you, they make sure that you're not a prohibited person, meaning that you aren't a convicted felon, you haven't committed the acts of domestic violence. There's a variety of other ways that you can be barred from having a concealed handgun permit. But as long as you're not one of those prohibited people, you get to go ahead and put a handgun on your person, underneath your shirt, whatever, so you can walk around places without that weapon on display. The alternative would be open carrying, and geez, I don't know if there's any states. I thought this was like nationwide, but there might be some states that don't allow you to open carry a gun in public. But open carrying is simply like in the state of Ohio, you used to have a permit in order to conceal a handgun, but there were people who could not get a concealed handgun permit due to their background, but they were not prohibited from owning a firearm. It gets complicated. Or there's simply people who didn't want to go through like the registration type process, and they wanted to open carry a gun. That way you can carry a gun outside of your clothing. So you just pull your shirt up. As long as the gun is showing, you're good to go. The state of New York, California is another one of these states, and there's a couple more. They have a rule. Oh, what is it called? I had to pull up another article. This is May issue. Yeah, so there's, when it comes to concealed handgun permits, there's shall issue states and may issue states. So a shall issue state is what Ohio used to be. You would go down to the sheriff's department, you would submit to your background check. If you didn't have any errors or bogeys or anything on your record, and you passed the required 2.5 hours or whatever the training is, as long as you completed all the requirements, the state was required to give you a concealed handgun permit. The state of California, or of New York, is the one we're talking about here. It was a may issue state, and what that means is that you can have a completely clear background. You can be completely free of any criminal charges whatsoever, a good upstanding citizen. And the state of New York would say, well, why do you want a concealed handgun permit? And you would write an essay and you would say, dear state of New York, I would like a concealed handgun permit because I am a law-abiding citizen and I would like to be able to protect myself when I'm out in public. And you would send that in, and then they would stamp it. Denied. We as the state of New York don't believe that you require a concealed handgun, so we're not going to allow you to carry a concealed handgun in the state of New York. What this meant was that the only people who were actually able to get a concealed handgun permit in the state of New York, I think it was a state. I don't know if it was a city ordinance. It doesn't matter. But if you wanted to carry a concealed weapon in New York, you basically had to be rich. You had to be rich and have resources that would allow you to convince the state that you were someone that deserved to have a handgun. So that law was challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that these shall issue states, that those types of regulations are okay. So they're saying, you know what, the Constitution still permits for laws regarding who can and cannot carry a concealed handgun. But as long as a person meets the basic requirement of someone that can carry concealed, the state cannot put an undue or unfair requirement on a person who's just trying to exercise their Second Amendment rights. You know, these are your rights under the Bill of Rights. These are supposed to be inalienable, God-given rights. And in the state of New York, it was deemed that people were being unfairly judged, I guess you could say. It was unconstitutional the way they were denying so many people from carrying a concealed weapon. These rules exist for the same reasons that denying someone the right to vote exists. There are people who have lost their right to vote for committing certain felony acts. The right to vote is one that I'm not sure you should lose, but I think also that is in there as a deterrent. Although I don't think it's effective, but I digress. So there's limitations on your right to vote. It's not okay for you to go to the polls and the person working the polls say, hey sir, why are you here to vote today? And then you say, well, I'm a citizen of this great country, of this great state, of this great city. I'm concerned about the issues, and I would like to cast my vote today. And then they say, well, see, the problem is you don't fit the demographic of the person that we're trying to have come vote today. So your request to vote has been denied. You can see how that would be a problem. It doesn't matter if it's your First Amendment right, your Second Amendment right, your right to vote, your right to be secure in your own house. You cannot put an undue, I'm not very good with words today, but you can't put an undue burden on somebody in order to prove that they have the right to use that right, for lack of a better term. That is what the Supreme Court struck down. Now, if I can for a moment address what the mayor said about how he said that this is making all of us less safe, and this is making the city of New York less safe, and there's going to be a lot more guns everywhere, blah, blah, blah. The people who are going to go through this process and submit to a background check and go to a class and learn how to use their firearm and carry it, they are not the type of people you have to worry about. I've worked in a state where people have legally been carrying guns for my entire career as a police officer. And the number of times that I've seen a concealed handgun carrier do the wrong thing, I honestly, I can't think of a single one that I've experienced personally. And I've been doing this job for over a decade. I've been working in a very dangerous inner city neighborhood. So when they're coming out and they're making these kind of statements, they know damn well that what they're saying is not true, but they're trying to appease a certain political base. I don't like it. I hope you guys understand what was going on now. If you don't, ask me to make another video on it, and I'll try to not ramble so much. Sound good? That's going to be my thoughts for today. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.